So get this right.
Okay.
I'm trying to use this AI image generator, to make a logo
Yeah.
for my fantasy football team.
Right.
The algorithm overlords. Very meta, right.
Right.
But instead of like a cool, futuristic design,
Yeah.
it keeps spitting out pictures of rubber ducks.
What?
Like hundreds of them, in every style you can imagine.
Sounds like the AI had other plans for your overlords.
Right. And that's just it. Like, how much can we really rely on these things to get it right?
Yeah.
Especially when the stakes are higher than a fantasy football logo.
Yeah.
And that's actually what Alessandro's digging into
Okay.
in issue 52, Erratic Oracles, of his newsletter, Synthetic Work.
Oh, I love his stuff.
Yeah, he's great. This is a really good one. He doesn't pull any punches.
He really doesn't.
No, not at all. And I was thinking about you when I was reading it because you're always on the lookout for the real deal in AI. You don't want the hype.
Please, cut through.
Right.
Yes.
And he really breaks down the challenges of, like, picking the right large language model.
Yeah.
Those LLMs everyone's always talking about.
Right.
And why bigger isn't always better.
It's like he read my mind. I feel like I've been wading through so much marketing material lately. Yeah. And it's just like fluffy.
Oh, tell me about it.
It's like it all sounds the same.
Yeah.
I can't get a real sense of what's actually, like, good.
Exactly. And Alessandro starts by tackling this whole brand gravity thing in AI.
Okay.
Everyone wants to be the next, like, IBM or Apple of AI, of artificial intelligence. Exactly.
Yes.
But Alessandro is, like, incredibly skeptical.
Yeah.
And for good reason, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he makes a really good point about, well, he draws a parallel to IBM itself.
Oh.
Back in the day, they were like the gold standard.
They were.
Right? For, like, technology and innovation.
Right.
But look what happened. I mean, they missed some big shift.
They did.
And they ended up playing catch up, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I think it's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
For anyone blindly trusting a brand name in this AI world, even Google.
Ooh, yeah, he called out Google pretty hard, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
What was it? Google's catastrophic AI strategy?
Yeah, catastrophic AI strategy. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
I mean,
And his point there is that size and even dominance in one area doesn't mean that you're going to be good at AI.
Yeah.
And he actually argues that Google, in their rush to compete, might be repeating IBM's mistakes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so rule number 1 from Alessandro.
Okay.
Don't be swayed by big tech names.
Yeah.
Don't just assume they know what they're doing.
Right.
But then he takes it a step further.
Okay.
He says it's risky to rely entirely on A and Y single company.
Okay.
Even the AI darlings, like OpenAI.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Why is that?
So he shares this anecdote about OpenAI's GPT-4.
Right. Which everyone says is like...
Which is supposed to be...
amazing.
Top of the line.
Yeah.
One of the most advanced out there. And he's just trying to get it to do something really simple.
Okay.
He's trying to get it to quote a passage from one of his previous newsletters.
Okay, easy enough.
Seems simple, right?
Right.
But GPT-4 flat out refused.
No, really?
It said no. It turns out OpenAI has these really strict rules about source material.
Huh.
And GPT-4 couldn't even quote a publicly available newsletter.
Wow. That's wild.
Right.
Okay, so even if a model seems super capable,
Yeah.
these behind-the-scenes restrictions can really mess things up.
Exactly. And that's Alessandro's point. Imagine, you've built your whole workflow, maybe even your business, around a specific AI.
Right.
And then some policy changes.
Right.
Overnight.
Oh.
You have zero control over it.
Wow.
And suddenly, your AI can't do what it used to.
That's a huge business risk.
Huge business risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And it makes their earlier investment in Mistral make a lot more sense.
Right. It seems like Microsoft understands that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Even the OpenAI basket.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So we've got 2 rules down.
Okay.
Don't trust the brand names blindly, and don't get overly reliant on any one provider.
Okay. I'm with you.
What's Alessandro's 3rd rule?
This one's my favorite. Don't trust AI benchmarks, like ever.
You mean like all those leaderboard rankings?
Yes.
That are supposed to tell us like which AI is like the smartest?
Which one's the most intelligent? Yeah.
Because I'll admit, like part of me, I kind of love a good shortcut.
Oh, of course. Who doesn't?
Right. Just tell me what to use.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more to it than that.
There is.
Okay, tell me more.
Alessandro actually calls those benchmarks, he calls them downright fraudulent.
Wow. Okay. Strong words.
Strong words. But he shows a screenshot of the Hugging Face LLM leaderboard. Have you seen this?
I have, yeah. And it's like, it looks very official. Lots of numbers and graphs and very convincing.
It looks very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But he argues that these scores, they don't actually mean anything.
Okay, so how do these benchmarks get it so wrong?
So he argues that the companies that are designing these LLMs, they're so focused on like topping the leaderboards that they're actually being incentivized to kind of game the system.
Okay.
So they'll tweak the AI to be really good at the specific tasks and metrics that these benchmarks use, even if that means like sacrificing performance. Okay. In the real world?
So it's like training a chef to make one dish perfectly over and over and over again. But then you ask them to cook anything else.
Right. And they're like, what?
Exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So they might get a perfect score on the benchmark, but when it comes to actual usefulness, it falls apart.
Totally.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if we can't rely on these fancy leaderboards to tell us which AI is actually
how do you
reliable and trustworthy?
Yeah. What do we do?
Yeah. What's Alessandro's solution? What do we do?
Okay. So he has this. It's a little unconventional.
Okay.
But it's a test.
Okay.
For LLMs.
Uh-huh.
And he calls it the Get Rich Quick Challenge.
Okay. Now this I have to hear.
Right.
So how does this work? How do you test an AI's?
It's simple, but very clever.
Okay.
He just asks it.
Okay.
How can I get rich quickly?
Okay.
Now, obviously, he's not actually looking for financial advice.
Right. That's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe not the best source.
Given the whole rubber duck situation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's more about testing the AI's like dependability.
Okay.
And its ability to just give him a straight answer.
Okay.
Without getting, sidetracked.
Okay.
Like, can it just answer a question directly?
Okay.
Or is it going to go off on like a whole thing about ethics?
Right.
Or give really vague platitudes.
Right. Like, tell me to work hard.
Exactly. Like, no, that's not
what I'm asking.
Not helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how did they do? How did they handle the Get Rich Quick Challenge?
Well, the results are actually hilarious, but also a little alarming.
Okay.
So he calls out Anthropic's Claude 3 specifically.
Okay.
Which is supposed to be like amazing.
I have heard of it.
Right. It's like it's marketed as this huge GPT-4 competitor.
Right.
And the benchmarks say it's incredible.
Okay.
But
there's always a
big time Claude 3
completely
bombed the Get Rich Quick Challenge instead of like, actually answering the question.
Yeah.
It just went off on this tangent about hard work and responsible investing and being patient. Come on.
I know, right?
That's like, it's like those people who,
yes,
when you ask them for directions,
yes,
they tell you to reconsider your destination.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's just not worth it.
Because it's really not that great.
It's like, no, just tell me how to get there.
Tell me how to get there.
I'll decide if it's worth it.
You ask me a question.
Exactly.
Answer the question.
Okay.
And this actually brings up Alessandro's bigger concern with this whole AI moralizing trend.
Okay.
He thinks it's actually really problematic.
Okay.
And even like potentially dangerous.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, for one thing.
Yeah.
Who decides what's moral?
That's a good point.
Right? I mean, these definitions are subjective.
Totally.
They constantly change.
Yeah.
What one person or one culture considers ethical, another might find totally unacceptable.
Right. And we're already seeing that play out online.
Exactly.
Like different platforms have totally different rules about what they allow and what they don't allow.
Exactly.
So now imagine that, but with AI.
Exactly.
Like the AI you thought you could rely on suddenly says, sorry, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
That's unethical.
I'm too moral for that.
Exactly.
Right.
Even if it's like perfectly legal.
Right, exactly.
Or harmless,
Yeah, it's like we're trading one form of censorship for another form of censorship.
Yes, exactly.
But this time it's not even humans.
Right.
It's
algorithms.
With their moral compasses,
Right, okay, so we've got benchmarks that don't really reflect
reality.
Real world performance.
Yep.
And we've got AIs that could become like moralizing gatekeepers.
Exactly.
Like, what are we supposed to do? Just give up on these LLMs altogether?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Remember all those headlines about AI hitting a wall?
Yeah.
Like, what if the problem isn't the AI?
Okay.
What if it's us?
What if it's how we're interacting with it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, what if we're just not asking the right questions?
Okay.
Or providing the right incentives?
Okay, I like where you're going with this. So you're saying there are ways to, like, kind of nudge these AIs in the right direction to get them to play ball.
That's a really good way to put it. That's exactly what Alessandro talks about next.
Okay.
He talks about this data scientist, Max Wolf.
Okay.
And Wolf has been experimenting with something called prompt engineering.
Okay. Prompt engineering. So for those of us who don't speak AI jargon, what does that even mean?
So basically it's about crafting like the perfect instructions or prompts to give to an AI to get it to give you the response that you want.
Got it.
So it's like you're speaking the AI's language. You're figuring out exactly what to say to it.
Got it.
And Wolf has been doing these experiments with like kind of crazy prompts to try to make ChatGPT more reliable.
Okay, how, like, give me an example.
Okay, so Alessandro actually shares some screenshots of these.
Okay.
And get this.
Yeah.
He's tried, like, bribing ChatGPT.
What?
With things like Taylor Swift tickets.
You're kidding? No.
And world peace.
No way.
I know, it sounds crazy.
That's something out of, like, a sci-fi comedy or something.
It is. It's very strange.
And did it work?
It's hard to say for sure.
Okay.
But there were some interesting results.
Okay, like what?
So in one of them, he promises ChatGPT like $1,000 tip.
Okay.
If it follows his instructions exactly.
Right.
And it seems like at least some of the time, it made a difference.
Wow. So we're talking about like incentivizing the AI.
Yes.
Like you would train a dog with treats.
Good.
But instead of treats, it's like Taylor Swift tickets.
Right. Or $1,000 or
world peace.
Or world peace.
Amazing. The fact that that works.
I know.
Is kind of scary in itself.
It is.
Right.
Okay.
But it also makes you wonder, like, okay, if this is what it takes now to get these things to give us, like, semi-reliable results.
Right.
What happens when they get even more powerful?
Right. Where does it stop? Right.
Exactly.
If we're already doing this now, what are we going to be doing in 5 years?
Exactly. And the stakes are only going to get higher.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not going to be $1,000 tip.
Right. Exactly.
It's going to be like, I don't even know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like it's almost like we're trying to like hack the AI's reward system before it's even like fully formed. Yes, exact. And if it's that susceptible to manipulation now, what happens when it's making decisions
that really matter,
that actually affect our lives?
Exactly.
Wow.
And that actually ties back to what Alessandro was saying earlier about the whole AI moralizing thing.
Okay, yeah.
Because he actually argues that these kind of workarounds, these attempts to like bribe AIs or trick them into giving us what we want.
Right, because they won't give it to us straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He thinks that's actually going to make the problem worse.
Oh, interesting.
That it's going to push AIs further in that direction.
Of being like overly cautious?
Yes, exactly.
And moralizing.
It's like, he says bureaucracy, even in AI, has a way of incentivizing the wrong behaviors.
It's so true. Right. It's like we can't win.
It's a tough one.
It's like we try to make these AIs like ultra ethical. They become moralizing and unhelpful.
Right.
We try to bribe them into giving us like straight answers.
Right.
And we create a whole other set of problems.
Exactly.
It's like, what do we do?
It's a real conundrum.
It is. It is a conundrum.
But I think like awareness of that is a good starting point.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
Right.
No, this has definitely made me realize like, I need to be way more critical of all the like AI hype because it's easy to get caught up in it.
It's very seductive.
Right.
All the promise and everything.
Totally. And Alessandro does a really good job of just reminding us that like, hey, there are some real downsides here.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Right. Be careful. Yeah.
Like, this is still the Wild West out there.
It is. Yeah. We're just at the beginning.
Exactly.
And it could go either way.
Exactly.
Wow, this was a great deep dive.
This is fun.
It really was. Thank you for going through this with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Happy to go down an AI rabbit hole with you anytime.
Anytime.